what's available in the API and how to get set up with it as fast as possible. This is Dream Studio. This is where you can actually test out, using the API. Everything here is being powered by the API. So all of these features, all the things you're seeing here are, they're things you will be able to do by using this API. So there's quite a lot of interesting stuff. Variations is one of them. I can click here and take an image and generate, variations from it. I can adjust image strength. I can adjust sizes. Have positive and negative prompts. There's quite a lot you can tweak and do with the APIs. So one more thing I'll show you real quick is this is our kind of test site where we play with new features. This is the new editor that's coming out pretty soon. You can go to the URL up above if you want to mess around with it before it's fully out. But yeah, you can build really complicated stuff on top of the API I'm going to be showing you. So yeah, let's get into it. I'm going to take you first to the platform site. And this is kind of going to be your hub for anything you want to know that's possible through this API, just kind of about the things that run in our systems. There are ways to run Stable Diffusion locally, of course, because it's an open source model. But if you're wanting to get any of the stuff you just saw, image generation, all of those features into an app as quickly as possible, we have got a number of ways to do that via these APIs. That's just quite easy to use. So let's just jump straight into it. I'm going to talk mostly about the REST API we have. We also have a gRPC API, and I'm going to share a Postman collection right when I'm done presenting here that you can use to get this all up and running in Postman. But the biggest thing you're going to need to know to get started is once you have a Dream Studio account, so you'll log in here, you can go to your account page and then see API keys. Thank goodness we asterisk those. But yeah, you create yourself some keys, and that's pretty much all you need. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that one and just actually show you guys how this works. So we're going to do the most simple thing to start out, just generate an image from some text. So all of this, all of these parameters, all of the stuff you're seeing here in Postman is something I'll be able to share with you via this Postman collection. So if you have Postman, you just can open this file up. I'll share a link in the chat as soon as I'm done presenting. So there's a number of endpoints you'll see. So you can see your user balance, your account. But the ones almost certainly you're going to be more interested in are in the text to image, image to image, masking, and upscaling endpoints. With those, you can do quite a lot of stuff. So let's actually generate an image. This is a classic prompt. Let's do something fun, like, I don't know, frog in a forest. So what you're going to need to do to actually run this is copy and paste the key. I'm going to have to delete this key after the presentation. Don't burn through all my credits. So once you have that key posted in here, it just works. The nice thing about this this Postman environment for testing is that you can actually pull out all of the API examples. You can go over here on the side and just say, okay, if I want to see that in JavaScript, if I want to see it in curl, it's just under the hood, just normal API calls against REST APIs. So once you have got something working in Postman you like, you can just basically copy and paste the code and immediately put this in your front end app. So there's a lot of features here. There's like breadth too. So if I wanted to do like in painting, I would use image to image and I would use masking. And that's going to get a little bit more tricky. So I'm going to be around for this whole hackathon. If anyone wants to do features that I'm not presenting here, I'm really not going to go beyond text to image. You can just hit me up directly. So I'll be available for any of the more complicated things you might end up wanting to do. But in general, yeah, you should be able to just basically get up and running as soon as you have yourself an API key and are interacting with Postman. Last thing I'll show you is that the actual platform site is pretty extensive in its documentation. So even if you're not using Postman, you can come here and see request examples for any of these, any of the various, things you can do in the API. and it details all of the settings, what they do, all of the rules about what you can ask for. This is a really good resource if you are trying to understand like how to use the API and interact with it. And hopefully you'll find it pretty easy to use. So I'm really interested in seeing what things people like about this, what they think can be improved. We'll take all of that feedback and all of that advice and see what we can do with it. The last thing I'm going to mention here is our gRPC API. We do have some features that are a little bit more advanced that are only accessible through gRPC. I'm not going to go through the time of explaining how to interact with that currently, but if you are interested in using the gRPC API, you can either reach out to me directly or read through the docs here. There's a couple of things that it enables you to do that aren't in the REST API, but I think for the vast majority of people, the REST API is going to be what you want to use for a whole number of reasons. So that is about all I think you'll need to get started. I'm going to share a link to this Postman collection as soon as I'm done presenting here. Actually, let me just drop that in the chat right now, and you can get off and running. So again, the first thing you're going to have to do is just get into your Dream Studio account. I'm going to go ahead and delete these since I exposed them on my screen here. And copy paste those into Postman, and off you go. Yep, again, I'll be around throughout the hackathon if you have questions. Feel free to reach out directly for help, especially if you're doing some of the more interesting and advanced stuff. It can get a little tricky to know what all these models and endpoints do, but we'll be around.
I do have one question from the chat, and there are a lot of numbers. I hope you will get that. Is it better to generate 12 or 768 with stable diffusion 21.1768?
21.1768. Let me read that. I think each model has a little bit of a different flavor to it. For SDXL, 512, 512 seems to work really well. Upscaling is something that is a really good strategy. So instead of generating a big image, you start with a smaller one and then upscale it. For each individual model, there's slightly different parameters you'll find work better or worse because they've learned different things. So just play with it. If you are working with a model and have Postman open, just tweak the settings. Find out what works best for you. The nice thing about these the REST API is that you can basically run all of this without any backend whatsoever. If you just have a front end calling out to the API, you can make an app that doesn't even really need a backend. I will say something I wanted to mention is about API keys. I guarantee you somebody here is going to accidentally leak their API key. It's just something you need to watch out for. Don't commit your keys to GitHub. Don't put your keys in the source code of the client app that's on your front end. You either have to ask the user to enter their key or you need a backend that hides it. So, worst case scenario, if you have a bunch of credits, your key gets leaked, somebody's going to drain them. That'll be a big bummer, but be very careful not to expose those keys. And this is the same for any API.
All right, one more question. Can we use ControlNet models and settings when we call from the API?
There's no ControlNet in the API currently. So stuff like that you might have luck with on, I think there's some Hugging Face spaces and on Replicate. I saw some APIs for that, but the API we have doesn't support that currently.
All right, and I have one more question regarding limitations. Do you have some location restrictions for using of the API?
I think it is globally enabled, and if that is not the case, and if you're being blocked for any reason, just let me know in case Cloudflare might be overly onerous or something. Just let us know. But I believe it'll be available anywhere.